succulent growers, it's Lynn and welcome to part 4 of moving the cacti and succulents inside for the winter months. And I've already made part 1, part 2 and part 3 of the whole moving process into the house. And if you haven't seen them videos already, do check them out. I'll link them all down below in the video description. And this is part 4, and it's going to be a little bit different this time because I'm not actually going to be moving any of these into the house. Instead, today I'm going to be focusing on the ones that are in this white greenhouse that are going to be coming into our main greenhouse for the winter months. Now we have 2 greenhouses. This is our unheated greenhouse, and we've actually brought in the ones that are not cold hardy already into our house, which I did in them videos, part 1, part 2, part 3. This is all what's left. These are all pretty cold hardy, and the weather has been very mild here for November, so I haven't had to panic and bring everything into our main polytunnel that is heated just yet. But I know the weather can drop soon. Pretty mild forecast as well for the next couple of weeks, but I can't just assume it's going to be mild because it can still drop. But there's a lot of plants in here still that have to come into our big main polytunnel, and we also have a lot of plants that's on the floor in our main polytunnel. We have to clear them away first before we can move in these big tall trichocereus cacti. So today I'm just going to be focusing in on these smaller plants here that can go onto the table that I've got spare now that I've cleared in the polytunnel. I had all my euphorbias on there and a lot of other plants like Hylocereus dragon fruits that I moved in part 1 in that video. And now I've got the space on them trays to move in these smaller ones that can now go onto that space. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. As I say, lots of smaller cacti, some smaller trichocereus and other type of plants as well. I've got lots all jotted around the place here, so they're going to be fitting onto that table, and that's in this video. That's what I'm going to be doing. Do stay tuned for another video coming in the next few days when I'm going to be moving in these very tall trichocereus cacti. But as I say, I probably have to work on the ones on the floor, so that's going to be another video as well. So going to be lots of videos coming up on moving all these plants over the next couple of weeks. Certainly going to be very, very busy anyway, but I love it. People often say to me, don't you get overwhelmed with all you have to do with the plants? You have so many plants. I actually love it. I find it gives me such a dopamine hit and an adrenaline high when I get moving plants and rearranging them. This is sort of, I love it. I really do. So I see it as a challenge, because if I come in and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got all these plants to do, it can, I would feel overwhelmed. But I see it as a challenge, and it really is exciting. I see each time I have to do it as a bit of a project. And today's project is moving the smaller ones onto the table. And I'm going to be bringing them in stages and show you what they look like when they're put away. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you into the big main greenhouse, the big main polytunnel, where these are going to be going, and show you the space I've got to put them onto. Now here I am in our main big polytunnel here, and it's a little bit of a mess, like the plant market, I should say, a messy one. I've got lots of plants all on the floor that I've had to bring in from the yard over the past couple of weeks. Aeniums there, big epiphyllums, all over the floor. Now a lot of these big epiphyllums are going to be hung up here onto the rail here on the top, and it's going to leave a lot more floor space. So then I'll be able to bring in all the tall trichocereus cacti, which we're going to be putting all here at the side. So it's going to give us the floor space back. But in the meantime, while I'm trying to get all this done, they're not doing any harm on the floor. Got a lot of my Schlumbergers coming into wonderful bud, which is really exciting as well. And they're going to look lovely when they're all hung up, and I'm going to show them off when they're coming into flower. I've also got my smaller Schlumbergeras, the Christmas and Thanksgiving cacti, all in bud. That's really exciting there. Going to be amazing when these flower, especially in the winter when all the other cacti are dormant. Got a bit of space here, so that's I'm going to be bringing other plants into there as well, smaller ones that I've got all here. I bought these ones there, might be putting them onto with the other cacti. I'll show you what I've got here. Now these are the tables I'm going to be putting the ones I was showing you in the white greenhouse on here, the smaller ones, onto these tables. And although these trays might look like they're dirty, I have given them a really thorough clean, and I'm spraying them with rubbing alcohol to completely sterilise them on both sides of the trays. And the reason why there's a lot of this white sort of staining on here is because I use diatomaceous earth on the trays, I'm sprinkling on them, and when I go to clean the trays it sort of leaves a stain even though I try and sterilise it. It's purely aesthetic. These trays have been thoroughly sprayed, as I mentioned, by giving them a good spray with the rubbing alcohol to completely sterilise, well, to completely clean them as much as possible to prevent any pests from that are lurking that you can't see on the trays. And this is my Crassula falcata, commonly known as the propeller plant. It's a bit of a leaning one, so I've got this just resting on this tray here, and I'm probably going to put the other plants all around. So this is the space I've got to work with today. As I say, I'm going to be very busy doing this, I'll also make a video when I put the epiphyllums up and other things. I've got a lot of rearranging to do in here, so there's going to be a lot of moving plants around videos over the next couple of weeks. Thankfully the weather, as I say, has been very mild. I think it forecast 4 Celsius last night, but it only dropped to 7 here, and it was actually 10 still in the Polytunnel. It kept the heat because the days have been quite sunny even if they've been very windy. So we've been very lucky, we haven't had to panic bringing the plants in. So I've been able to take my time with this and do it as a series of video vlogs. So that's the space, and I'm going to show you bringing the plants in sections and what it looks like when it's put away. So here we go, let's get started. Now I have made a complete video on how to prepare your cactus for winter. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend checking it out, give you some tips on preparing your cactus for winter. I'll link that video up above and also down below in the video description. And I've also made a video on how to overwinter your cactus and succulents as well. I go into a lot of detail in there, so do check that video out as well if you haven't seen it. Links also will be up above and down below in the video description. Now that's the first 2 in. I've had to temporarily remove the Crassula falcata, put it onto the floor leaning there, and I'm going to have to probably find either somewhere else for that, or might be able to fit it in between these when I put them away. But I've put the worst one away first that I always dread lifting, and this is this huge big Opuntia orticulata. Beautiful Opuntia there, and I've had this for well over 25 years. Very beautiful specimen, and it's one that I can't put onto the floor because it's so full of glow kids that you daren't touch it. So on the table there it's going to be safe away from walking anywhere near it, and I can put plants, jot other plants around. Another Opuntia there that we've got next to it. So that's the first 2 away. Whenever I'm handling Opuntias, they're lethal, so I know I was dreading lifting this one, so I'm glad that one's done first. And now for the other ones. I've made a start on putting some of the smaller Trichocereus pacanoides and Peruvianus, commonly known as San Pedro cacti, the smaller ones, on there. Still got loads of space left, so this is great. I'm going to be able to put as much as I can on these 2 tables today. Now it's always good when you're bringing in plants, as I often mention as well, always do check for pests, because it's easy when you're putting things away, and I'm a bit guilty of it, just rushing to put them away. But I have found a couple of mealybugs on some of them, so I've got the rubbing alcohol on hand here. We'll give them all a good spritzing over, and I've also got my little brush as well to brush off any cobwebs that I find. These are just harmless spider cobwebs, but you have to keep an eye out for anything like spider mite webs, which are much finer, but these are quite clearly just spider webs. As I say there, that's clearly mealybug beasts. So what I do here, give them a spritz with the rubbing alcohol, use a little brush here and brush them off, making sure that you thoroughly remove any of them in the nests. And even though the rest of the plant looks pretty clean, looks like there could be, that's just white powder, I think. I'm not going to take any chances. It's important that you treat the whole plant. The one thing I love about rubbing alcohol is that it dries pretty quickly, so it's very safe to use even in the winter. It's going to be great when I go into the polytunnel in winter and just give them a bit of a spray. And what I noticed as well, this is Trichocereus grandiflorus, red star, has beautiful big red blooms on it. This is the mother plant, absolutely huge, and it's growing like a big snake all the way over there. And this is actually coming into bud at this time of year. As you can see, there's a bud there. I'm not going to touch it because I'd hate to knock it off if there's any possibility it can flower. I've had Trichocereus flower in October for me, but never in November. And this is a recent flower bud as well, because it wasn't there until I've only noticed it recently now. So I'm going to leave it, and you never know, it might flower, but I doubt it. But that's the least of my problems. It's removing any mealybugs you can see. It's always important. And also do check under the pots as well. Not just for mealybugs and other beasts, but slugs. That's where they love to hide. Now I just want to show you this while I've been putting away some of my Trichocereus. This here is a common thing that often happens with Trichocereus. And what happens, sometimes a change in the environment, for example, that the temperatures have got cooler here, and sometimes just even something like the autumn fall coming, the change in the light, any type of environmental stress can cause this on Trichocereus cacti. And it's due to the alkaloids under their skin. It forms as a stress response. If the plant gets stressed in any form, it'll form these little black pustules, and they'll give off like a black sticky sap. Sometimes it can be a brown sticky sap. And over time, this sticky sap will eventually go white and form a scab, and it will carry on growing as normal. It's actually more of an aesthetic thing, and I'm going to show you an example of one of my other Trichocereus plants that had this. This Trichocereus cactus here had the same thing happen to it about 2 or 3 years ago now. It formed these ugly sort of black pustules on it there with using sap, and it's healed over. As you can see, it forms like a scab and completely hardens off, doesn't spread. It doesn't seem to spread to any other plants as well. And I just wanted to mention that because it seemed a few people do mention it to me, and I have actually made a complete video on the black oozing sticky sap on Trichocereus cacti and why it seems to happen. In fact, I made a couple of videos about it, so do check them out if you have this happen to your Trichocereus cactus. I'll link that video up above and also down below in the video description. This is a totally different thing to rot, because a lot of people will contact me and panic and say, Lynn, you know, this is my Trichocereus cactus and it's rotting at the top. What have I done? And I said, it's due to the alkaloids. It's not rotting. You don't need to do anything. You can just leave it. If you can give ventilation, that's good. Or I often just spray with a bit of rubbing alcohol, because this is sort of quite helps to sterilize, or just give it a spray with rubbing alcohol, and I just leave it, and it would just heal itself up and form a scab over time. Sometimes it may get worse before it gets better, but I've never had it spread to the other plants, and these two are in 2 different places, by the way. It's just something, it happens, but all I do know that it is down to the alkaloids in their skin, and just let it heal over in time, and it should just form a scab. Woohoo, that's a lot of the smaller ones put away. Just got all the smaller Trichocereus that I've grown from seed to put away on the rest of the trays here. And a mixture of different types of mostly Trichocereus and other Cereus cacti there. As I mentioned, my big Opuntia, and here Trichocereus Rigesi, commonly known as the penis cactus. And here Trichocereus Turcheski, absolutely gorgeous variety here. And we've got some of our Oreocereus as well there, and another one of our Oreocereus is at the back. So now just to put the small Trichocereus seedlings away. Woohoo! That's it all put away there. All the smaller Trichocereus that was in the white polytunnel, all put away, as well as the 2 of our Opuntias. And I'll show you what I've put here. And I managed to find somewhere to put the Crassula fulcata. I managed to have this here leaning against this table, so it's not going to fall over. And believe it or not, guys, I've actually got some space left. Look at that. And I put the small Trichocereus seedlings that I've grown from seed all at the front there, and a mixture of different Trichocereus all around. I've got my Rebutia perplexa. I've put that there in the corner here because I think that sort of softens it up. It's a lovely bowl of it. Beautiful old plant as well. And as I mentioned, the other ones there, all different types of cereus, mostly trichocereus as I mentioned, but here Oreocereus there as well, and Trichocereus pachanoi and other varieties all there, and they're all nicely put away, tucked away for their winter quarters, and other sort of smaller Trichocereus varieties, many different types. Many have grown from seed as well, a lot of Trichocereus pachanoi and many hybrids, Trichocereus rod crossed with Fields pachanoi, and many different types. And if you want to see a complete tour of all of my Trichocereus seedlings that I've grown from seed over the past few years, I did make a video a few weeks ago now. If you want to see that, then do check that video out, and I'll link that one also up above, and it will also be down below in the video description. I'll go through all my Trichocereus seedlings. So that's all the smaller ones all put away, and as I say, still got some space there. I've also got space as well on these shelves here, so I'm going to be cleaning this up as well, and I'll probably be using these shelves to put my smaller, I've got lots of epiphyllum seedlings all here on the floor, as well as my aeniums as well, some coming into flower. So obviously I'm going to need to put them somewhere, so they might be able to go there. And as I mentioned, all these larger epiphyllums here and my large hanging baskets, Schlumbergera, Christmas and Thanksgiving, are going to be hung up, and might even get a special plant stand, a rail, to put at the back by where all the Opuntia table is, and hang a lot of the hanging baskets on there as well. Might leave more light as well coming in from the roof, because when I put hanging baskets on the roof like these, it does take a little bit of light away, so it might be better for when I'm coming in as well, when I'm filming, and that bit more light. So I've got lots of things to do over the next few days. Luckily, as I mentioned, the weather's going to be quite mild, so I can take my time with it planning. And I'm just going to show you the extra space now I've got in the white polytunnel. That's the white polytunnel. Look how much floor space there is, guys. And I've just given the floor a good old brushing because there was lots of soil everywhere. And these are all the tall Trichocereus varieties, and some of our agaves as well in here. And also some of our Opuntias. These are the Opuntia buggerianas. And they're pretty cold hardy, so there's nothing really left in this white polytunnel that can't take the cold. However, saying that, these are all going to be coming into the big green polytunnel, the one the others have gone into, over the next few days, because obviously they're all going to be in one place then, and it means when I have to put the heater on and the dehumidifier and things like that, they're all kept together, because this is not insulated, this greenhouse here. We've insulated the floor, but our big green polytunnel is fully insulated. We've insulated the floor, it's double bubble wrapped, and very protected from the cold as well. And we have a dehumidifier in there to keep the air dry, and also a heater that kicks in if it drops to 5 Celsius or below, which is about 41 degrees Fahrenheit. These are all pretty cold hardy, but might as well overwinter them at a minimum of 5 in the big polytunnel. So happy days. The only one that has to probably come in very soon will be this Cereus jamacaru. It's not as cold hardy as the other ones would be, although it's, as I mentioned, pretty mild. So do stay tuned for lots more bringing cacti into the big polytunnel over the next few days. I'm going to be focusing on these guys next, and also the epiphyllums on the floor. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And as I mentioned, if you want to know how to overwinter your cacti and how to prepare your cacti for the winter months, then do go and check the videos out. They'll all be down below in the video description. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you haven't done already, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. And do check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com. And stay tuned for part 5 of bringing cacti in for the winter, coming soon. Until my next video, bye.